I have to admit, I'm kind of becoming an RFK Jr. fan. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think he should be president or anything like that, but I do think having someone in there who's willing to take a look at the FDA, willing to take a look at vaccines, at our approval processes, and all of this stuff, what's going into our food, is a great idea, because for years we've had questions. We've heard reports. We've heard stories about all kinds of weird things going on, and it wouldn't be bad to have someone take a second or at least a closer look into any of these scenarios. So, of course, in these clips, we're going to take a closer look at RFK Jr. and the left's completely unhinged dislike of him. But before we continue, please like and comment on this video so we can break through the algorithms. Here we go.
RFK, you and I do have something in common, which is that for a long time we've all been saying, well, the system as it is, the way we do health, is already very so maybe he'll make it worse, but like my head is not exploding about it.
That's good.
And so I saw you do this, where I got familiar with you, this video you did where you said you graduated Stanford Medical.
Yes.
And the video was called something like I learned nothing there, about what was important. Tell us what you didn't learn there that you think you should be taught at least in medical school.
Right. It's astonishing. It's not an overstatement to say that in my 4 years of Stanford undergrad, 4 years of Stanford Medical School, and 4.5 years of surgical training, I did not learn a single thing about what is really making Americans sick, the true root causes of the chronic disease epidemic that's devastating and torturing American lives. The things like the impact of ultra-processed food on our health, the incredible 80,000 synthetic toxins that are our food, water, air, our personal care products, the fact that there's been 6 billion tons of plastic produced since 1907 that have entered our food, our water, even our air. The fact that 6 billion pounds of synthetic pesticides are sprayed on our global food supply every year. The average child in America is spending less time outdoors than a maximum security prisoner, and yet sunlight actually dictates a huge portion of our biology. So these modifiable aspects of holistic living that directly impact our cellular health are just not being talked about. We're really focused on silos in the American healthcare system. We have over 100 medical and surgical subspecialties. And what happens is we miss the forest for the trees of the root causes of what's making Americans sick. And I think what happened on Election Day this year is that Americans came out and said, we want to bend the curve of the chronic disease epidemic that is destroying American potential. And I think RFK represents someone who's willing to take that on. There's something happening right now where I think there's been a lot of polarization and the algorithms are fueling it. But I think we're seeing a thread happening where authenticity and truth, people respond to it. And I think, a lot of people thought that there was no chance that Trump could win another election. But I think the assumption that Americans are stupid and they don't understand things, they rejected that. And they said, we're gonna come out and sort of vote for people who trust us to make nuanced decisions and have nuanced ideas. So
I think that Make America Healthy Again, those suburban moms, is an underrated part of the electorate, and it is going to change the coalition and possibly the way that Trump governs, as we're already seeing. And I think Democrats became the party of, you can't say that. You can't talk about crime and immigration because it's racist. You can't talk about trans issues because trans kids will kill themselves. You can't talk about the COVID vaccine because it means you want kids to have measles. And it's like, a bunch of people went, you're full of shit. I'm allowed to say things.
Nothing scares people like health. Of all the issues I've ever discussed on this show, and that's all of them over a long time, the ones that have gotten me the most hate, health issues, like obesity. Like that is the ultimate third rail.
Yeah.
Like when I did it, even other anchors would call me up and say, I can't believe you talked about that. Yeah, because you have to talk. How can you not talk about it? I mean, it's the #1 health factor in this country. And for the people who are going to yell at me because, oh my God, are you defending Robert Kennedy? Well, just remember, your view on obesity from the left, to go into that roster of things that I said that they're crazy about, was, first of all, it's body positivity. Was there ever more Orwellian phrase than that? It was it's not nothing positive about it. I mean, when you're eating it, it's positive, tastes great. And beauty's in the eye of the beholder. If you find someone large be beautiful, that's fine. But science is not in the eye of the beholder. Yeah. Science is science. And body positivity and healthy at any weight, there's no such thing.
So for a long time now, the left has actually had the corner on the market on discussing any topic. If you went off script, you were basically canceled, right? You were considered a nut, a fruitcake, okay? But here we are saying, yeah, who's the real crazy people out there? The ones with this whole body positivity movement? Yeah, they're the ones who are saying, oh, we believe the science, okay? But now it's nice and refreshing to have people actually able to come out and say, hey, there's a whole bunch of stuff in our food. We should probably look into that. Hey, there's a whole bunch of stuff with these vaccines. Maybe we should take a second look at that as well. So all of these topics that were discussed in dark rooms and quiet corners are now able to be brought out into the open because Donald Trump got elected. He brought out RFK Jr. and now everyone's saying, let's give all of this stuff a second look because why the heck not? Let's have this free and open discussion on ideas and maybe launching some new studies into the effects of what's going into our food, into our water, into our vaccines, all right? Oh, we've got plenty of money to study the effects of bot flies eating beagles' heads, but nothing on public health and safety. Oh, we can't have any of that.
Let's get right to, well, you heard us talking about RFK Jr. being the head of HHS. What do you think about that appointment?
The executives will nominate and bring in those who they believe will move their vision forward. And everything from the fluoride issue, I believe we should have fluoride in the water based on what my experts are telling me. But let's be clear, we have a real problem with our food in our country. And we need to watch what we're feeding our children. And
what is the major problem, do you think?
Too much hormones. You know, many people know my, you know, I almost lost my sight with diabetes. The doctor told me I would be blind in a year. I was going to lose my fingers and toes. And it was my food. It wasn't my DNA. It was my dinner.
But JFK Jr. RFK Jr. ate some pork and now he has a brain worm. Is he the person that should be in charge of that?
Yeah, well, let's
food?
Right. And let's understand this also. In all of these agencies, there are thousands of employees and experts that understand these topics, and there are rules, there are regulations.
Mayor, a lot of them want to resign. When they see some of the people that are going to be on top, I think there's going to be a mass exodus of people who have the institutional knowledge and the institutional memory and DOD
Well, I would hope so
at HHS. Who wants to work under our cook?
And let me respond to that. If we love our country, then no one individual should take us away from our mission.
Yes.
If you dedicated your life to a particular place, I dedicated my life to law enforcement. So if a new commissioner came in that I disagreed with, I was not going to say, I'm going to resign. Let's love the country. Let's love our cities. Let's get away from the rhetoric of the professionalism that we know. Those are experts in this. They're going to look at his proposal, do a real analysis, and make these decisions. It happens every day.
So even New York City Mayor Adams recognizes that, yeah, there's far too many chemicals and hormones and additives in our food, and it's just not healthy. After all, I almost lost my sight from diabetes. But of course, that's not going to stop Sonny Hostin from coming out and saying, well, RFK Jr.'s got a brain worm, right? Should we really trust someone with a brain worm to be in charge of our food? And Navarro, oh, everyone's going to quit under him, right? They're all going to abandon their posts. And of course, we have a really good point from Adams there saying, yeah, if you really love this country, if you really love the work, then chances are you're willing to come out and stick with it, no matter if you agree with the leadership or not. And also, if we had someone out there who's willing to listen, there's probably a whole bunch of scientists willing to do new research and get new data if they don't have it already and it's been kept under wraps by people who necessarily don't agree with them at the top, which is another important reason why we need someone different to come into play here. And that's why RFK Jr. actually fits this role perfectly, because now we're all talking about it. This is on the front page news everywhere. The health and safety of this country, right? What's in our food, what's in our water, what's going into our bodies. And of course, we're going to see some more unhinged hate over here on CNN.
If we're being intellectually honest, there's really no good reason why Bobby Kennedy, RFK Jr., should be HHS secretary. An advisor, a confidant, somebody who talks to the president and advises, but there's no managerial experience in his resume. There's nothing that says he is qualified to do this job that is in charge of the health of all of us, all these different lanes. If he has views and has insights around food sources, around vaccines, then those should be given in advisory roles.
Why?
Well, because...
Well, what were the qualifications of the previous ones?
Well, I think it's important to always remember that you put yourself... Say that again?
What were the management qualifications? I mean, Xavier Becerra...
I'm not talking about the previous. I'm looking forward.
No, but you're calling into question whether he could actually do this job. And I think it's...
Absolutely. I think America is now, and I think
it's important to discuss it, because Xavier Becerra was just a lawyer and a politician with no management experience.
So does two wrongs make a right?
Sylvia Burwell was a Walmart lobbyist. Donna Shalala was a university person. Look,
RFK Jr. is a nut.
Okay, so that's different than what you just said. You just said he doesn't possess the requisite managerial experience, but then we get to the real issue here, which is you want to insult the man, which is your right to do because you opposed him in the election. But
did oppose
you,
RFK
doctor,
Jr.
are raising the issues that he has been raising, and I think they're appropriate questions to raise. I don't know whether he can be confirmed or not. The vaccine stuff at the table is obviously going to be the flashpoint of this hearing. But I'll tell you one thing. This whole issue of the CDC and these public health agencies, look, public trust in the health regime in this country is as low as it's ever been.
But why, Scott?
Because of COVID.
Right.
Because of school closures. Because of mask mandates. Because this country was... Let me just finish. Because this country was drugged through a bunch of condescending and heavy-handed mandates that all turned out to be garbage, and that's why it's low, and the questions are valid.
And RFK is the answer to all of that.
Yeah, but RFK helped promote the assault on the CDC that lowered the disinformation that led to more than a million deaths, Scott. More than 1 million deaths in the United States, higher than any other industrialized nation per capita. That's the result of failed policies, the demonization of the conspiracy theories.
Whose policies?
So now we finally get to it. RFK Jr. is just flat out too crazy to be the head of the HHS. Never mind the fact that all of the other political appointees also were not qualified, right? You just don't like his stances on vaccines. And by the way, what are his stances on vaccines? He is not anti-vax, all right? He's actually pro-vax, but he wants pharmaceutical companies to be held accountable if their vaccines are harmful. He wants us to be able to look into the effects of all of these vaccines, right? And there's nothing wrong with any of that. Bring it into question. Bring it out in the public square, because if he's wrong, he will be proven wrong. But if he's right, a whole bunch of lives will be saved. And I love the fact that they bring up the CDC and how they basically have lost all credibility because of all the decisions they had made, all of the mandates they had made, all of the rules that made no sense. And after it was all discovered to be a bunch of garbage, no wonder we're all skeptics now and we want some actual answers. And that, of course, also is where RFK Jr. can be very, very helpful. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and stay safe out there, people, because they're coming after you.